He'd had an ulnar collateral ligament sprain that the medical team had been treating with stem cells and plasma injections, but his body wasn't ready. I could see it in his face, the way he grimaced and guarded his arm when no one else was looking. Just hours before the game, he'd been drenched with sweat after throwing a couple of easy pitches. "How bad is it?" I'd asked him. He'd shaken his head. "Not bad," he'd said. "Just nerves." As if the league's best pitcher had ever been that nervous a day in his life. I gave him a look. "I'm good," he lied. What ensued was a series of fights with what felt like everyone in the organization, from Patrick to the GM. But in the end, Iwasaki went back on the injured list, and I went on a list too. One that started with black and ended with bald. "It'll be fine," I'd assured everyone. "Murano is 100% and he's looking great." The backup pitcher, Murano, was solid. The pitching coach agreed and everyone conceded. No problem, I thought. I am an optimist. Murano choked. Epically. The Phillies hadn't just beaten us. They'd humiliated us in Fenway Park. The man who'd been on the receiving end of my cannoli was screaming, a strangled animal sound, espresso cups stilled. Around us, the bakery patrons fell silent. There were no shouting spectators here egging us on. A woman with a small child cowered, shielding the toddler with her body. The worker behind the counter who had winked at me when he'd handed over my food now picked up a phone to make a call. I retreated, accidentally placing my shoe directly in the middle of a chunk of cake. I slipped on the mass of buttercream and nearly fell. Frantically, my arms windmilled and I grabbed for anything to keep myself upright. I caught the man's shirt. A button popped off and thwacked against my forehead. I looked up. The man's screaming ceased. He reached up and wiped the cream from his face. A glop of frosting landed in my hair, pale white against my deep red waves. I had a sudden, sickening realization that there was no team behind me ready to get in the mix, and there never would be again. I was on my own, and my life in baseball, and at my favorite bakery, was over. There's no bullpen in the North End, no dugout to cool off in, and since, as I learned later, the delectable flaky pastry scratched the man's cornea, I spent the better part of the afternoon in a holding cell in the Boston District A1 police station. I was braiding my hair and trying to figure out how I was going to tell my dad about my fall from grace when my best friend Astrid appeared, looking like a cross between a blonde bombshell with a foul mouth and a glorious angel. She was wearing oversized black sunglasses, ripped high-waisted jeans, and a tube top with puffed sleeves that revealed her pale midriff. She might have been the only person over the age of 30 who could pull a look like that off. Astrid was warm and disarming, and at the sight of her, relief pooled in me, and that feeling of utter loneliness dissipated. She tossed her blonde waves over her shoulder and removed her sunglasses. "Sophie, in all of our years of friendship, I never once envisioned having to bail you out of jail," she said, tucking the glasses into her purse. "I feel like we've reached a whole new level of closeness." "Thank you for coming," I smiled. I couldn't help it. A cop unlocked the door and gestured for me to get out with a quick jerk of her head. "It better be a good story," Astrid said, folding me in her long arms. "Was it a pervert?" I love it when a perv gets what's coming to him. I grimaced. "I was defending my honor. Sort of." I eyed the room. From the glares I was getting, the police were also Red Sox fans. It was Dunkin' Donuts with a side of dirty looks in there. I didn't mean to hurt him. "Let's get you out of here," Astrid said. "I know everyone loves Iwasaki, but geez," she raised her voice. "It's just a game." "Astrid, shh, don't antagonize them." She slung one arm around my shoulders, and together we speed-walked toward the exit. "So, where to?" Astrid asked, once we were outside beneath the old blue station sign, standing in the shadow of the brick behemoth. "Home?" "About that."